place.
Yeah, so when I went back to Truro after my 30
You're lucky it
days,
didn't come out your shoulder.
Yeah. Dr. Wood was the major, was the surgeon there. He was making his round, and I said to him, I says, I believe I found the bullet. He says, you did? Where's it at? I says, I believe it's there it's at. Yes, and he says, after my round, he says, I'll come to the OR and take it out. After his round, he says, LeBlanc, took his little knife, ping, says, there's your souvenir.
Jeez.
I'm recording now.
That's amazing. All right, well, we'll get started. Tell me about your best friend in the West Novas.
Well, they're all been my best friends. And I've been attending this reunion since the first going on. I believe I missed 4 of them so far. And this is our 54th.
But who was your best buddy during the war?
Oh, I had so many I couldn't tell you. I mean, they're all my buddies. And in fact, I was the sergeant then when I was wounded. And my lieutenant was from Truro, Charlie Irving. He was a good, nice man. And that afternoon, I was taken prisoner. I'd been wounded at the time. And then all our stretcher bearers was pretty well all shot. We didn't have no stretcher bearers. So when it came down in the evening, I heard Charlie Irving, my lieutenant, he says, I'm going to give you 2 men to take you out of the line. So there was this Knowles and Anderson took me out. And I says to Anderson, I says, you're going the wrong way. He says, it's us that's in charge of you now, not you. So we walked a little way, took a rest, and hop along. Finally, hutch. The German patrol beyond our lines. I was prisoner again. That was around 23:15 or 23:30 hours in the evening, or about 10:30. So the German that was in charge, the officer was in charge, he was very nice. He spoke fluently in English. He changed my dressing. He says to me, he says, you're not far from our hospital, and he says, we'll look after you. And I don't know if you remember, they had those hardtack crackers during Depression time. Oh, they were huge, and they had them. So I ate one of those crackers. I hadn't eaten since about 11 o'clock that morning. So I told now they were heading toward my platoon. So I told Knowles and Anderson, I says, you keep on the left-hand flank. I says, if our platoon is up there, they're going to get them. So finally, I jumped over the bank. But at the same time, they had changed the password in the regiment. And I didn't know the password. And I didn't want to take no chances going over. I knew there were Canadians already on that side. And I was pretty sure it was my platoon that was there. So after it came down, I hollered. I says, is that the West Novas? And who answered was Charlie Irving, my lieutenant. He says, what the heck are you doing there? I was taking prisoner again. I said, try and crawl on this side. So I did. I stayed there until the next morning, and then the next morning they took me up to their first FDS, first field dressing station, on a bring gun carrier. And after that, I was hospitalized from that date, the 23rd of May '44, until February the 5th, '45. I was discharged.
You said you'd been captured before. What happened there?
I escaped that afternoon.
Oh, okay, but a little bit more details. Tell me about what happened. What
No,
battle was it at that you were
I know
captured?
the first time that I was captured, I can't indulge into it. I can't tell you the.
Okay.
What's through there.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that's fair. What's your happiest memory of your time with the West Novas?
Well, to tell you the truth, there were some good times and bad times. But sometimes we used to have some good times. And when you hit the bad time, well, you had to go with the flow, and that was it. But I always got along with the West Novas. Never mind what platoon I was in, and I was the only French sergeant, I believe, in that section of the West Novas. And it didn't make no difference to me. I didn't make one friend of one in the bad or the other. To me, they were all equalized.
It seems I've been hearing that, and it's something I'm very proud of. That there was Frenchmen, there was Germans, there was English, there was
yes.
black guys, there was
Frenchmen,
Indians in the
yeah.
West Novas,
Yeah.
and everybody seemed to get along okay.
Perfect.
Can you talk about that a little, or?
I don't know if it was an account of the regiment that's been so nice to all of us, but it seems to me that I was into it from, I joined the 2nd of August 1940. I was only 17 when I joined. And I stayed with the West Novas until 45, and I have known but good work. Good.
Sounds like a great regiment. One to be definitely
One of the
proud of.
best.
What was the funniest thing you ever saw in the West Novas? Do you remember a really funny incident?
I could tell you a lot of fun. I don't want to put it on tape. Okay?
Okay, I can imagine. That's yeah, I understand. What's the bravest thing you ever saw?
Oh, when you're up there, everybody looks to be brave up there. And, you know, you're going through some hot stuff up there. Before the front.
There's nothing in particular that stands in
when
your
we
mind?
went to that Hitler, and I was wounded, in fact, in the Hitler line. And up there, you had all these Spencer divisions, young kids. Well, we weren't over ourselves, but our average was about 16, 18. That was the Spencer division that we had up there. But that was one of the toughest. We had no cover up there at all. And I believe in the morning when we went through the attack at 500 hours, we had 5,000 guns behind us there. I lost part of the year to Scotland. So it was rough at times, you know. But I was one of the lucky ones, I suppose. That was it. And after I came back from I was retired from the service about 12 years. I wrote to the Legionnaire, and I wanted to get the name of the two men that carried me under the line. Now it's an Anderson. And I waited, and I looked at the Legionnaire, and there was no response onto it. I went back to Italy. There was 144 couple of us went back 12 years ago, roughly 12 years ago. And they were killed at night on the 23rd of May, and they're buried in Ortona, side by side.
Jeez,
That hurts.
that's awful. Do you remember the time that you were most afraid?
Well, you're afraid from day one, as far as that goes. You don't know when you're going to get it. And in that Hitler line, we had a lot of casualties. But I suppose you don't expect to be killed. I don't know what's going through your mind, but you go, keep on trucking, you know. It might be your day, it might be your time is not up, you know, that's it.
What company were you in?
A company. And the second time I was taken prisoner, I thought of my brother. He was a prisoner of war in Japan for 308 months. He weighed 78 pounds when he came home. He's 83 years old now. And I says to myself, oh God, I says, one in Japan, now I'm going to Germany. It didn't look too good, I mean, that was it.
My grandfather ended up being a prisoner of war, and
Yeah.
it was really rough on him. What did you hate most about being in the Army?
I didn't hate the Army. I liked it. And if it hadn't been for my war liberty, I would have stayed in.
Okay, fair enough. Who was your favorite officer or NCO?
They were all good. They were all good to me. I had different officers, different major. I can't complain. I had no complaint.
What do you think was the toughest battle that you had to go through?
Well, Ortona was tough, but I was not in Ortona. But the Hitler line was one of the stuffiest there was. We didn't have no cover up there at all. Just bare ground. A lot of crawling around. And that's why the regiment had a lot of casualties.
You had to sit under shell fire all that day before you went on the attack,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I heard your tank support got blown up too, basically.
Yeah, the tank was kind of sluggish there, for a while. But through that, everything went pretty smooth until got that mixed up somehow, and
Were you part of that?
I can't mention that after one.
Right, okay, that's fair. Do you know if in a firefight you ever aimed at an enemy
Oh yes,
and got it?
oh yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Do you
And
remember?
grenades. Oh yeah, you gotta do those things, When you're trained for it, you gotta do it. But once you're into it, it's usually pretty good procedure.
Was it just automatic? Did you ever think about it, or did you just do?
No, you get them first because they're gonna get you after. You got no choice there.
Do you remember any specific times that you can talk about of being in a firefight like that?
No, when I first came out of the service, I didn't like to talk about it. But since the number of years that we've been going to school, and the kids just asking another question. I go to school every year now, on the day before Remembrance Day. Sometime a week before Remembrance Day, we visit the schools down in Richmond County. And some of the kids, they ask quite a few questions,
Can you tell us? Can you show us the bullet and tell us about that? Hold it up a little, like that, and tell us the story about that.
Well, that bullet was lodged in my foot. I was wounded on the 23rd of May, 44. And by the way, this is a sniper, German bullet. A sniper got me. And one of my buddies was wounded. And I got kind of jittery over it, and he asked me to go over if I could give him first aid. So I crawled over to him, and that's the time that I got this bullet in my foot, sniper bullet. So I didn't reach him. So I hollered to him, I says, I've been wounded, and I says, I'm going back beyond the line, in my trench. So I didn't see him after that. But he died on account of his wound, He was from Yarmouth.
What was his name?
News. But I can't figure his family name was News, but his first name I can't, because it was initials. I don't know if it was J.A. News or, And after I was hospitalized in Italy for about a month in the hospital.
You can put that down if you want, yeah.
And after that, the doctor came over one morning and he says to me, you're going to UK. So I went to Birmingham, England, the hospital there until September. And in September, they put me on the hospital ship, so I went back to Canada. And then when I got home, I was hospitalized in Truro until, I believe it was in October, because I was home. You know, I got my embarkation leave for 30 days, and then I went back September, October, I went back to Truro. And then Major Wood, the surgeon, told me, he says, I'm going to send you, he says, up to Sussex, New Brunswick for treatment. I was getting the electric treatment up there. And I stayed there until the end of January. Then I came back to Halifax, MT6, and I got my discharge the 5th of February.
And the war was over soon after.
But nowadays, they don't keep you that long in the hospital, I don't
Yeah.
think.
That's the best. That's a long time.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the Germans? What did you think about the men that you had to
Well,
fight?
the officer that took me prisoner, his section, they were very nice. You know, he was very nice to me, the German officer. And he says to me, he says, you don't have to worry. He says, you'll be well treated in our hospital. He says, don't worry about it. And he says, we'll take our time. And he says, no rush. Yeah, he was pretty good there.
But you said when you were walking back and you heard the guns open up, did you see what happened to the German patrol that caught you?
Oh, they got them. They got the whole works there.
So you saw that officer
Yeah,
get...
yeah. They got the whole works there. And they got the two that were scared. They died that night. Dawes and Anderson.
What do you think was the worst thing that you saw during the war?
That was one of the worst things there was to experience, you know. And I was 21 at the time, and I was more active than I am today. Today I'm 81. So it makes quite a lot of difference, but I keep quite active.